Welcome back to the Plus Money Podcast. We got the best picks for the weekend in 15 minutes or less. I'm Andrew Passaro. It's an exciting day for soccer fans. The Champions League draw happened today. We are approaching the last weekend of football before the transfer window closes, and we have our first international break of the season approaching. We got a fun little weekend, Friday night football at Luton as they host West Ham in their first match in the Premier League. We've got a Saturday slate highlighted by Brighton and Newcastle. Sunday, another edition of a classic EPL rivalry as Arsenal host Manchester United. We are welcoming back Nick Dianni of the Kicks and Picks Pod. Follow Nick at Nick Dianni. Follow Kicks and Picks at Kicks Picks Pod. I'm Andrew Passaro. You can follow us at the Plus Money Podcast, or at the Plus Money Pod, actually. Nick, thank you so much for jumping back in. It's always great to have you on the podcast.
Absolutely, brother. Always a pleasure. Always excited to get the call and answer the call and ready to give out some winners.
I'm excited for Friday slate. There's a whole bunch of great teams playing. Luton West Ham is going to be a great match. We've got Marseille's playing in Ligue 1. We got I think Dortmund's playing as well. I've got a parlay for that. It's on the Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok at the Plus Money Pod. It's out there. Go find it. But let's start on Saturday. I'm going to go back to a team that won me some money last weekend, and that is Tottenham. They take on Burnley on the road. I like Tottenham at over 1.5 at plus 105. I said a lot of negative things about Tottenham, and I'm eating my words, so I'm going to make some money off of it. I like what they've done, and it's not that I'm not believing in Burnley, because I do think that there is a good team here, but I did say this during my futures podcast that they have a hell of a tough run to start the season. They've already played Manchester City. Now they got to take on a pretty good Tottenham team. And Tottenham lost in the midweek in Leagues Cup. So I think they come out here and get a win here at Burnley, especially with the fact that Burnley are going to play more of this attacking style. I think that actually plays into Tottenham's hands. So I like Tottenham in over 1.5. I do think both teams to score is an option here, and I do think Tottenham and both teams to score is an option here, but I'm just sticking with one pick. I'm trying to bring down my card from last weekend. I got a little too eager, and I don't have an Inter Miami final to save me this weekend, so just the one pick, Tottenham over 1.5.
Yeah, I'm riding with you on this one. I just even simplified it further. I just think Tottenham money line is the play. It's minus 110. I think that there's no reason to really overthink this game. Tottenham has looked really good, better than I think many of us expected under their new coach, and Burnley hasn't. I mean, you mentioned, right? It's a brutal schedule, but we have to take advantage of it with what's in front of us, and the line of minus 110. This is actually down. This was minus 120 as recent as yesterday. So it's actually come down a little bit, and I think we have to lock it in.
There we go.
The one thing I do want to shout out, it's not necessarily for this game, but I was looking at anytime goal scorers, and Destiny Udogie has looked really, really good in his first couple of games for Tottenham. They signed him last year, kept him on loan in Italy. He's plus 800 to score. I don't know that he's going to score, but that seems like an awful big number for somebody who's in and around the box a lot. I think he had 4 or 5 goals last year. And he didn't play every single game for Udinese, but just something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying necessarily I would take it for this game, but the longer he doesn't score, the more I'm going to be willing to take this for 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row to try to cash a plus 800 if the number stays there.
Absolutely. I love a plus 800 anytime goal scorer. I have some other plays for the Saturday games, but I have 2 parlays coming at you in just a moment. I've got a team totals parlay and I've got a corners parlay that I like for Saturday. Let's jump to Brighton taking on Newcastle, our 12:30 game. Now, this is a get-right game for 2 teams here. Newcastle lost to my Liverpool. I don't know how I refound my voice after screaming at the TV for Darwin Núñez on Sunday at 11:30. Newcastle up 1 on Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk sent off. That Liverpool defense looking exposed. And Alisson just proved he's the best goalie in the world. Again, he saved us so many times in that game. And Brighton got played off the park by West Ham last weekend, which I did not see coming. So my one play here is I do like the over 3.5. It's hitting every single Brighton game. Ani gave you guys the stat last week. They're giving up one of the highest goals expected in the Premier League so far. I do expect Brighton to score, so I think you could throw both teams to score on there. But Newcastle just got a really tough Champions League group. That draw happened only not too long ago, earlier today before we recorded. and Brighton need a get right game. So I think this is going to be two teams just absolutely leaving it all on the pitch before we go to the international break. And I think Brighton are still a team that's going to give up goals, and Newcastle need to show that they're a good team, because I picked them top four. A lot of people picked them top four, and they have stumbled pretty hard off the gates. Yes, they lost to Manchester City and Liverpool, but you don't lose to Liverpool at home if you want to be a top four team as Newcastle.
Yeah, Brighton. I mean, that's the charm and the curse of De Zerbi, right? I mean, this is what he does. It's high flying football. You're going to create a lot of chances, but you're going to give up an awful lot of goals. That's what they've been doing, maybe a little bit more than people expected. And I've really just talked myself into Newcastle needing this game more. That's really the only angle I'm going with here. I think this is absolutely a pick 'em game. Money line odds reflect that. I think they're both plus 170, or one's plus 170, one's plus 180. Last I checked. But Newcastle just absolutely have to have it. That's really, I can't even get more scientific than that. I think the draw no bet number minus 115 is a great play here. This game could very well end in a draw, 2-2, 3-3. But just knowing that they needed a little bit more, that's the way I'm going.
Yeah, I like it. Newcastle have played well, and they should have scored more goals. And you go up against a goalie that's not Allison, and that happens. So we'll see what happens in that one. All right, I got 2 parlays for you on Saturday. Actually, kind of 3. So let's talk through the team total one first. I've got Manchester. This just team total over 1.5 across the board. I've got a 4-leg and an additional 5th leg if we really want to be. In the 5th leg, mate, brings it up to plus 600. So it starts at plus 289. Manchester City getting 2 against Fulham. That happens. Especially with it sounds like João Pedro could be leaving Fulham in the next couple hours. That's a huge piece at the back of Fulham's back line. Bayern's taking on Gladbach on the road. Bayern are steamrolling teams in the Bundesliga. They're a great Champions League play. They got a great group. We'll talk about Champions League in a couple weeks. Next one, Atalanta. You talked about them. You've been singing their praises to me. They're taking on Monza at home. And then the last one, Napoli taking on Lazio at home. Not exactly the hottest start for Lazio in Serie A. Napoli kind of doing their thing. That's plus 289. If you really want to cook with some extra herbs and spices, Newcastle team total over 1.5 against Brighton brings it up to like plus 623. Is there any leg of that you would say maybe take this off the parlay?
Atalanta scares me the most because of how bad they've looked. I've been dead wrong on them so far. I did cash a team total on them first week of the year. They scored in like the 93rd minute against Sassuolo.
Yeah, I got that with you.
But they were absolutely terrible last week. Listen, I think that there's nowhere to go for them but up. Monza's not exactly the best team. They're probably a 10th to 15th place team this year. So that's the one that scares me the most. I think the rest, you pretty much nailed it. City's going to get it. Bayern against Gladbach. I mean, they gave up 3 last week and never looked competitive. I forget who it was they played, but they were terrible in that one. And Lazio, absolutely. I'm actually on the over 2.5 goals for that game. That's minus 120. If you're interested, I think that number is almost too good to be true for a Napoli Lazio game. So you're not going to have me talk you off at 2 goals for Napoli in that one. That was like the basis of my bet. I really like them all. And we just spoke about Newcastle. The only thing I would say is maybe you round robin this one. When there's 5 teams involved, only one could screw up your parlay, right? So maybe if you do a little round robin, even if you hit 3 out of 4, if you hit 2, you probably make your money back. If you hit 3 out of 5, you're in the plus, and you can go from there.
No, I like that. All right, my corners parlay is all Premier League games. It's 3 of the 10 o'clocks and the Brighton Newcastle. Just over 8.5 corners. So you see 9 corners. Chelsea taking on Nottingham Forest. That's 2 teams that don't know how to score goals well. So a lot of shots going over the bar. Brentford taking on Bournemouth. Just a classic English. A little bit of Brexit in it, even though I don't think either team are coached by Englishmen, but you know what I mean. Burnley taking on Tottenham and Brighton taking on Newcastle. Just 9 corners in all those games. That's plus 222. I looked at the stats. All these teams are averaging around nine corners in their matches. I think all of them. I think over 8.5 corners is in like the minus 350 to minus 200 range. So none of that is like really crazy. So it's just stacking all on top of each other. I think that you take that one straight, and I agree with you. Maybe round robin the other ones. Before we get to Sunday, your Lazio just getting their Champions League draw. How immediate thoughts? Are they going to get out of the group? Is there value in put? I mean, odds aren't definitely up for getting out of the group, but how are we feeling?
Feeling okay. I think it's a manageable group. I think they could get out of it if they put 100% of their effort into it. I think, Celtic is certainly very beatable. I think Feyenoord lost a lot of their firepower, although traditionally they've been a very good team in Europe, have been in the Champions League in quite some time. So, it's the same with Lazio. They're kind of on a level playing field. So I think if they take care of those two teams, as they should, 2 wins out of Celtic, maybe a win and a draw out of Feyenoord, they're in good shape. But how seriously do they take it is the question. I think we talked about it on our Serie A preview pod. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. What's their focus? Can they get motivated? We just watched Lazio not get motivated for 2 games against relegation teams, and they have 0 points in the league. So, another team, I guess, like Atalanta, there's really nowhere to go but up. But this is going to be a manageable but uphill battle.
Yeah, no, you couldn't put it any better. All right, let's jump to Sunday. I got 2 more picks. Well, actually 3, because I do have one sneaky one for Liverpool taking on Villa. My regular pick is just a 3-leg parlay. Both teams to score over 22 or 22 plus match shots, not on target, just 22 shots over 7.5 corners. It's plus 113. Villa to score first is plus 160. I think you have to take it. Liverpool have given up the first goal in their last 2 matches. It's something they did all the time last year. There's no Virgil van Dijk out there. It's not clear if Konate is going to be back for Liverpool, which means it's a Joel Matip and Joe Gomez backline, and everyone and their mother is targeting Trent Alexander-Arnold on that right side because defensively he's a liability. So at plus 160, this is a good Villa team, a Villa team that scored first at Anfield not even 6 months ago in Liverpool's last home game last season. I do think Liverpool win this one because Villa are playing in a Europa Conference League second leg qualifier. They are up 5-0. Yeah, they are up 5-0, but they did run a decent lineup out there. So keep that in mind. Villa playing more games than Liverpool. So I do think we get the win, but I don't exactly think it's going to be easy. And those are my plays.
So this is, I would say, the 4th or 5th time that we've recorded together, whether here on your show or on my show. And this happens at least once or twice a show where you give out your play. It's exactly what I have written down. We didn't speak about it beforehand.
Nope.
I actually locked in Villa first goal at plus 150. So you got a better number. Plus 160. That is absolutely a great play for all the reasons you mentioned. Pool just seems to give up the first goal every time, and books have not caught on. There's always value on the opposing team. So I think you have to take that. You mentioned corners as a part of your same game parlay there. I have Villa over 3.5 corners. That is minus 105. I think they get to 4. I can't believe that it's even money or even close to even money. Those are the 2 I went with, and I want to sit back and enjoy the rest of it. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I myself think Pool will probably win, but wouldn't shock me to see Villa come out and get a result either.
I wouldn't either. They're a very good team. I've been telling people all summer, this team has the ability to make top 6. I have money on it. Let's jump to Arsenal Man United and get everybody out on their way to enjoy the rest of their weekend, or almost weekend, whenever you're watching / listening to this. Arsenal, Manchester United, an all-time classic. 2 teams that I have yet to really, truly be impressed by. Arsenal dropping points against Fulham last weekend. Man United coming back against Nottingham Forest. Man United have lost. Arsenal have not. I want to say quickly, the over 3.5 has hit in their last 4 head-to-head matches. So I do think at plus 130, that's a playable number. I would love it higher, but I think this is a result that I think both managers know that, hey, we need to play well and we need to get something out of this game. I like Arsenal to win and over 2.5 in the game, plus 130 as well. And then I have a same game parlay. I've targeted this before. Over 10.5 corners seems to be a regular occurrence in Manchester United matches. So I'm going to parlay that with 26 plus match shots at plus 147. So there we go. 2 or 3 quick and easy ones. But I think we've got Another kind of similar to that Brighton Newcastle game. Big question over who wants it more.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit shocked to see the big difference in spread between the two teams, right? Arsenal minus 125, Man U was plus 320. I thought that was an astronomical number. Again, they have not looked good, but Arsenal is also kind of struggling to score, right? Without Jesus there, their midfielders or their attacking midfielders haven't really hit full stride yet. It's tough for me to pick a side in this one. I like, on one hand, I love to get Arsenal at that number, but on the other hand, I don't trust either team. So I think goals is the way to go here. I would actually take it down even a notch and play the Asian line of 3 goals. That's at minus 120. Yeah, you may not win if you don't get to 4, but at least you'll get your money back if they hit 3, little 2-1 game. So I think either of those numbers are playable. The one that I like the best here is the second half being the highest scoring half. That's at minus 115. I think this one starts a little slow. Maybe there's 1 or 0 goals in the second half, or in the first half, excuse me. And then in the second half, you get the 1 or 2 that you need to push this over the edge. So it's a bet that I've been trying out so far this year, and so far it's been great. So this is a good spot for it.
See, this is where our like betting telepathy is on the opposite of things. Is I've been on first half overs and they haven't been hitting, and you've been on second half overs and they have. So like, I don't know how these wires are getting crossed, but we're gonna have to work on that sync later. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Go follow his podcast and go give that a listen or a watch right now at Kicks Picks Pod. You can follow them on YouTube as well, on Twitter, everything. The link will be in the description of whatever way you are consuming us right now, whether you're watching our beautiful faces on YouTube or listening on any podcast app of choice. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Go follow Nick at Nick Dianni, at Andrew Passaro, at the Plus Money Pod. Let's have a great weekend. Let's stay positive, and best of luck with all your bets.